Now we talk about the super deep cranking. Now this is not deep cranking, this is super deep cranking. This is something that's relatively new in the last few years, and for a lot of people it's like Greek language. And for me, right when it first came out, he's shaking his head because this is Greek, or is it Latin, or Pig Latin? This is something that he can't understand. I love to deep crank. When I was early on, before I fished professionally, I fished team tournaments. And one of my friends that I fished team tournaments with, he was a very good deep cranker. When I say deep cranker, he was good. He would crank out to about 16, 17 feet of water. That was tops. Most of our deep cranking was 10 to 15. And we did well together. And we caught a lot of fish on a deep diving crankbait. But this is a different deal. It's a different deal. Sam Rayburn, where Phil Marks won that tournament, that's not a current-driven lake. It's not. So don't get locked in, and I kind of did that early on. I thought it was more of just a Tennessee River deal because all that current, it is good because of the current, but that is not the only place. It does, I mean, that thing will work in all kind of different lakes. And like I said, kind of try it in other places where others have not. And it's one of those techniques, it seems to be that either they're on it or they're not on it. So you don't have to beat your head in, because if you get to those areas to where those fish are, you can maybe see them on the graph or something, and you throw the big crankbait on them a number of times and you don't catch anything, and you throw another technique in there and you catch one, and then you do it on the next place, just don't waste your time with that big crankbait. Sometimes they're just not on it. But if they're on it, hold on, it's fun. It's fun. And I've only snagged 3 sticks deep cranking, maybe. No, you hang a lot of stuff, man. The other part of it is you keep a plug knocker handy too. So you're reeling down, and you hit a fish, or you think you may have hit a fish. You just kind of sweep with the rod, and if it loads up within the first 2 seconds, if it's a fish, you'll feel them shake their head, and it goes woo, woo, like that, back and forth, and then you know you got them. So you just keep that rod tight. You want to keep the rod bent as much as possible. Keep your rod tip to the side. You don't want to hold it up. You hold it to the one side or the other, and just keep as much tension on him as possible. Keep that rod loaded as much as possible, because if he goes to shake his head or comes up to jump, if that rod, you saw how much bow the rod has. I'm going to rip this tag right off of here on that. But if the rod has a lot of bend to it, if you keep that rod bent heavily, that fish you're fighting that fish, you're keeping that rod bent real heavy, and he's shaking his head, he's not going to get any leverage on you. He's not going to get any leverage on you. So you just keep that thing bent as much as possible. Keep the tension on them as hard as possible. Don't try to horse them to the boat. And usually when you hook them a good ways from the boat, they'll be fairly tuckered out, fairly tired when you get them up near the boat. And then we have to lip them. If you're lucky enough, you can just scoop them up with the net. But yeah, there's a lot of times you'll be reeling along and it'll just stop, and then you kind of lean back, and if you don't feel, and there's nothing, you're like, oh, I think that's a rock. You just reel down, maybe check again, and if before you go, if you just put that single pressure on them and hold it, and you don't feel any head shake, a lot of times you can let it get slack, let the line get slack, put your rod tip up, and just kind of pull on it. And a lot of times it'll just, because that bill is so big, it'll just kind of lift up with a little different lift angle, lift up, come off, and then you can just kind of keep cranking that medium retrieve. Now if you get totally hung up, you go get your plug knocker, which I highly recommend having one, because they'll save your free crankbait that Spro gave to you. They'll save you your free crankbait so that you get right over top of that bait. You go to wherever it's hung up, get right over top of it, and when you get right over top of it, you can look at your graph and you can see those fish down there that you're trying to catch. And then you put that plug knocker on your line, slide it down. I keep mine on an old fishing reel and a little short stubby rod. I just keep it on that because it works better, and I clip it on my line, push the button, and it slides all the way down to the bait. And I like the ones that have the little chain on it,
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Glusek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. From on the water to in the classroom, you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills. Video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best. Subscribe to Bass University TV today.